Hi everybody, welcome to the world of Micah. October 1982, let's talk about this. October 1st, Magic Kingdom opens in 1971. Fast forward a couple of years, October 1st, 1982, Epcot Center opens to the public. A couple of more weeks go by. Saturday, October 23rd, CBS airs the 1982 opening day special with Danny Kaye, Drew Barrymore, Alan Shepard, Dreamfinder and Figment, Marie Osmond, and a ton of other celebrities who were popular at the time. I did another video just like this of the MGM Studios opening day celebration filming locations. And guess what we're gonna do today? We are in the parking lot of Epcot Center 2016. A lot has changed since 1982, but I'm gonna travel all over Epcot today and show you guys some key filming locations from the 1982 opening day celebration that aired Saturday, October 23rd, 1982. So let's travel back to 1982 and take a closer look at the opening day special here at Epcot Center. My name is Micah. I travel around videoing everything and anything I find interesting. Let's take a closer look.
Ladies and gentlemen, Epcot Center, the opening celebration.
So the opening shot of the 1982 Epcot special was right here. You can see the American Adventure Pavilion in the background, a ton of people, exactly where I'm standing right here. We would have been looking up at Mr. Danny Kaye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a party.
Mr. Danny Kaye would have been right up there. Now, obviously, the tops of those have changed. Now they're little balls. Those have changed since 1982. But the camera had a crane shot. And they were right up there talking about how wet he was and how this was a party.
I'm Danny Kaye, and I'm speaking to you live and wet from Epcot Center. And it's also a party. Why don't you come with me as we look forward to the dawning of the 21st century.
The next scene would have Danny Kaye standing right here in front of Spaceship Earth. Now you could tell a lot of things were different. For one, we didn't have these over here, and the trees were a lot smaller, and they were palm trees. But he stood right in front of this grassy plank, and obviously the topiaries and things weren't here. But this is where Mr. Danny Kaye stood and gave us the opening number. The 21st century is here.
21st century's here. It's time for the dream to come true. This glorious figment of one man's imagination.
The next shot with Danny Kaye was right here on this grass plank.
I am here on a little bit of space in front of the entrance to Future World.
Now, there was grass on here. There wasn't all these plants that you see on the plank now, but you can tell this is it because obviously Spaceship Earth is the main factor in the background. You can see the monorail beams and these trees right here. Although they were different back in 1982, they were still in a row just like this. So you saw Danny Kaye standing right here. He eventually walked up, and the Disney company placed a bench right around here where my finger is, where he and Alan Shepard were sitting and talking about the 21st century and the opening of Epcot Center.
Fine.
Well, it's good.
Fine. Back here on Earth.
Now this is the area also where we would find little Drew Barrymore. Little Drew Barrymore would walk up and talk to Danny Kaye, and he asked her, "Did you know who that was?" Alan Shepard.
Do you know who that was?
Alan Shepard.
Was what she said. And she was so cute back then. You gotta love Drew Barrymore back then. But the funny thing about this Drew Barrymore craze and her being in the opening day celebration is they mentioned several times that she is a close and personal friend with E.T.
Now, This is Drew Barrymore, one of the first actresses to meet E.T. personally.
Now this dates back to when a time in Central Florida there wasn't a Universal Studios Florida, so E.T. the ride was not here. Now I know Disney nowadays would not have mentioned that. They would have never tied in Drew Barrymore with E.T., obviously, because at the time when they both opened, they were kind of competing. And I just find it interesting that they did, in fact, mention the fact that Drew Barrymore was a close and personal friend of E.T.'s.
This is the gateway to future world.
I want to say that this is the original area they were walking on. Not this much higher step, but this little step. And the reason I think is because it wasn't really raised above the ground as much as you would think. And this part of World of Motion back then, now Test Track, the black windows are still in the same spot that they were back when this was World of Motion. So the World of Motion sign would have been right over there, and this is where they would have been walking directly towards the palm trees in the distance.
This is the gateway to future world. It's the world of tomorrow, today.
So right behind me is where Danny Kaye and Drew Barrymore would have been standing, and that is where Danny Kaye is talking to her about the future. And I remember the line when he said, oh, I don't know, you could be going to school in Mars. You go to Mars High School. And she said, do they give homework? And he said, oh, I'm sure they do. And she said, you call that progress?
In the future, you might be going to Mars High School.
Do they give homework?
Probably.
You call that progress?
I love those little jokes like that. So now, let's venture over to the Imagination Pavilion and see where Drew Barrymore and Danny Kaye find their friends Seiko. Now people think for some reason Seiko was a Epcot character. No, Seiko was from Rocky IV. He was not a Disney character. As well as Dreamfinder and Figment. The progress of trees have changed everything about this next spot right here.
I diddly-dee, an actor's life for me.
Hi diddly dee, an actor's life for me. Now none of these trees in the distance here were here, so you could see the full Imagination Pavilion, but this is in the shot. Now the plants are different. You can see those palm trees in the distance there in this shot, as well as this railing right here. You can see that railing.
Seiko, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine. Say hello to Mr. Danny Kaye.
Seiko, I'd like you to meet Mr. Danny Kaye. This is very difficult because of the trees and everything, but Seiko, Drew Barrymore, and Danny Kaye were standing right there. And another reason why I know this is the exact spot is because the camera pans over to this angle right about here. Where my finger is where Danny Kaye is standing, and you can see everyone dumping out of the Land Pavilion.
May I ask you a question?
Proceed.
And this is also the exact spot where we would meet Mr. Dreamfinder and Figment. Now, Dreamfinder was portrayed by a good friend of mine, Mr. Ron Schneider. If you would like to know more about his story, pick up his book. It's really good.
Dreamfinder, this is Master K and Drew.
It's nice to meet you. And this is my assistant and good right arm, Figment.
This is where you have to come to now to get that same iconic image. So if they would have filmed it today, they probably would have had them standing right here.
When Walt Disney first began to think about Epcot,
he was actually exactly where those people are standing right there. You can see the Land Pavilion in the background and this railing right here. It hasn't changed much. This right here is where Mr. Danny Kaye introduced us to the land.
a great deal of work went into finding new and better ways to feed the entire population of the world.
So standing out here in what was Communicore back in 1982, and in this next scene we saw Seiko going into Communicore where he ran into Smart One. Now this is where things get interesting. He walked up to Smart One and said, "Hey cutie, what's your name?"
Hi, cutie. What's your name?
Smart One.
That means Seiko is a boy, obviously, but does that mean Smart One was a girl? Maybe I missed that as a kid and didn't realize that Smart 1 was actually a female robot. Communicore is long gone. It's almost impossible to try and match up anything that's left from Communicore. But I do have the clip from the opening day ceremony, and I'll just play that right now.
Bit like Columbus felt when he started on his journey into the New World.
Danny Kaye would have been standing right around here when he was talking about the 9 different countries that bring World Showcase together.
Brand new man-made world. And in that world, there are 9 countries that are thousands of miles apart geographically.
You guys can see that boat right there, the Friendship 2. In the opening day celebration, Danny Kaye was also riding on the Friendship 2. But the way his boat was coming was from right over here, from the China Pavilion. And the boat was coming straight toward us, and you guys can see the China Temple from the China Pavilion in the background of the shot.
Reflected in the waters of this man-made inland sea.
Now, when Danny Kaye talks about all the different people coming from all the different countries around the world to work at Epcot Center, they show them getting off an Eastern Airline airplane. Now, the location of that airplane shot where they showed the airplane landing and driving up and them getting off the airplane and greeting Danny Kaye and all dropping off their different articles of clothing on top of him and their luggage and everything, that was actually filmed here on Disney property. It's right next to Magic Kingdom, and it's the old airport that still exists here on Disney property. This next shot is one of my favorites. You can see this in the background from the China Pavilion and Mr. Danny Kaye walking towards us right here. This was not here. We are actually way higher than Danny Kaye was in this shot. Danny Kaye would have been down there on that ground level, and there was a bunch of grass in the background. There wasn't a bridge because Illuminations wasn't even a thing yet. Mr. Danny Kaye was walking towards us and into what was then a bunch of grass and a tiny model Africa. And Mr. Danny Kaye walked over right over here and met Mr. Alex Haley, who was in charge of a lot of the things that the African Pavilion was gonna have.
Alex Haley, I presume?
You presume correctly. Welcome to Equatorial Africa.
Well, thank you very much.
Now, obviously, a lot of that didn't happen. If you guys can watch the shot, go back and watch it and see, because a lot of what they had in mind and a lot of things that were going to be in this area didn't happen.
Maybe next time.
We'll see you in about a year.
Danny Kaye eventually introduces Miss Marie Osmond. She would have been standing right around here. Now, you can see a lot has changed in front of the American Adventure. It's really cool to go back and see exactly what this looked like. Everything was kind of empty. There wasn't a lot of trees. There were obviously weren't trash cans in the shot. It's just really cool, and it's almost like a cool time capsule to go back and watch this shot with Marie Osmond. We must have really transformed back to 1982. Look at the line for Spaceship Earth. Oh yeah. And this is right here where we would have seen Eric Severed and Mr. Danny Kaye sitting together and talking about Epcot Center and Walt's legacy.
Disney was an original, I thought, not just an American original, but an original period. He was a happy accident, one of the happiest that this century had ever experienced.
It was a pretty cool, quiet little conversation, and it kind of wraps all things together right before we get to the big finale with the boys' choir.
This place itself is a celebration, not only of technology and creativity, but of the American dream as well.
And right here, pretty much where exactly that stage is, there were a bunch of guys in a big boys' choir, and Danny Kaye was conducting them. They started with America the Beautiful, and then Danny Kaye ended it with This Is My Country in a really over-the-top way. And it was pretty awesome. And that was the end of the 1982 Epcot Center Opening Day Special. So thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun making this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to let Mr. Danny Kaye sign us off for this episode. Be sure to visit my website, guys, and as always, stay weird.
I've had a wonderful time here at Epcot, and I hope some of you share that feeling as well. And I'd like to send you the very best of wishes, good luck, and good night. I hope to see you soon.